Well, good afternoon. For those of you that I have not met, my name is Colin Diaz, and I'm the President and CEO for the Culver City Chamber. Great to see you all for our speaker series for our Women in Business speaker series. And this topic is going to be talking about the adjusting to the new normal. I would like to share with you a little bit about our Women in Business. Some of you may have heard of our annual event that we have, which is our Women in Business Leadership Luncheon, where we recognize some of the fantastic women doing amazing things in our community. This speaker series is going to be a microcosm of that, if you will. And to share a little bit more of the details on that, I'll pass it to Kristin Cavanaugh. But before I do, I wanted to share a few ground rules. You may have questions as we're going through this process, and I would encourage you to place them into the chat box, and that will allow you to get them queued, and we'll answer them on the tail end of our event. So with that, I'd like to introduce Kristin Cavanaugh from Sony Pictures Entertainment, who is also our 2020 board chair for the Chamber of Commerce. And you'll need to unmute. Let's see.
You have to unmute.
Got you.
There we go. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. And it's great to have everybody take a little bit of time out of what I'm guessing are extremely busier than ever schedules. I know mine is. I'm sure all of yours are. So this is just a nice way to connect. And I was just joking before Colin opened this up to everybody. Part of the new normal is figuring out Zoom calls and different iterations. So bear with us while we figure this stuff out a little bit. But anyway, we have three amazing women who are fearless leaders through all of this and in general in Culver City that I'm thrilled to introduce you to. And we're gonna have a conversation with them, talk about what they're going through, some time for questions at the end. But I will just start and introduce each of them briefly and then give them each a little moment to kind of tell us about yourselves. So we have Akasha Richmond, chef and owner of Akasha Restaurant. Jean Freeman, principal and CEO of Zambezi. And Laurie Sewell, president and CEO of Servicon Systems. If I messed up titles or names, feel free to correct me. Oh, there I am. So let's start with Akasha. I appreciate you wearing your mask, which we all should be doing everywhere we go. Will you tell us a little bit? You were one of the first kind of restaurateurs, really, entrepreneurs to open a business in Culver City when things were starting to realign and kind of this renaissance we've seen the city go through. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your career, the restaurant, which I'm sure we all have dined at.
Well, I started my career as a private chef, and I was a private chef for, I had a lot of different clients, and then I started moving into food delivery and catering and consulting and doing different things. And I always wanted to open a restaurant. I knew someone that helped chefs find buildings. He found the building we're in now, and I said, oh, it's too big. And then I spent a couple days in the building thinking about it, and we fell in love with the building. So we, and we loved the whole vibe of Culver City and the downtown. And so we took a leap and, leased the space and raised a lot of money, opened the restaurant. We love the community here. It's great. I mean, it's really great up until 6 weeks ago. I mean, a restaurant always has struggles, but this is beyond. I don't know if there's a great article in the New Yorker today with Chef Tom Colicchio from Top Chef about what it's going to be like for restaurants. I mean, none of us even know. We don't have a business that can be done from home. Even if you get a PPP loan, no one wants to come back to work because they're making more money. Sitting at home, as I say, sitting on the couch, smoking weed and doing nothing at home. And why would anybody get $1,000 a week to do that and come back to work and make less money, mind you? So it's really problematic for us. I mean, we pivoted right away. We're doing the best we can do. We're doing food delivery. We're doing food for charity programs like Feed Culver, but at best, on any given day, we're doing 15 to 20% of what we normally do. So when your profits are $5 out of every $100, you know, you're just like, how do we survive? You know, what are we going to do? I mean, I'm determined to survive, but it's rough. Even though I'm having a ball cooking all this home delivery food, I really enjoy it. I love the food we're doing. I think it's great, and everyone that orders it is really happy. But, you know, we're just trying to figure out our future. And, you know, I'm not going to get into numbers, but you know that the rents in Culver City are not inexpensive at all. So it's a big challenge.
Yeah. No, thank you. And we will talk a little bit more about all of that. So
sorry if I got carried away. Yeah, I just.
No. Yeah, no, not at all. No, I appreciate it.
Summary of what's going on.
Right. Yeah, no, this is what we're in the middle of. So thank you, because we know that you and your you know, comrades in your industry are really hit hard by this. So it would be great to talk a little bit about maybe some creative ways we can support your industry. But let's move to Jean and tell us, you know, a little bit. I know Zambezi maybe has been a little bit under the radar, but you've been in Culver City for many years, and you are, when you go to the website, I see you have the largest female-owned full-service agency in America, which is, frankly, very impressive. So tell us, about your company.
Yeah, we moved to Culver 4 years ago. And our office is right at the corner of Jefferson and Overland, and we've loved it. And so we have about 60 full-time staff, and we're an advertising agency, so a creative agency. And full service means we do creative development, so making TV commercials, websites, as well as also purchasing media, as well as internal production capabilities. So our clients include TaylorMade Golf, Coca-Cola, Venmo, Ultimate Software, Traeger Grills is a new client of ours. So we really focus on consumer brands, and that's really kind of our sweet spot, is understanding how brands should connect to consumers, not only through creative messaging, but also the ever-changing media landscape that we're having right now from a digital standpoint. I run the company with my husband, and we have been doing this for the past 13 years. And we had the ability to take over control of the business 5 years ago, which now has allowed us to really grow and scale. And yeah, we're one of the largest women-owned businesses in Los Angeles, and the largest in the advertising industry.
Great. Very cool. Thank you. And let's jump to Laurie, who I'm not seeing at the moment, but there you are. Laurie, thank you for joining us, because you are in the interesting position of being incredibly busy right now. Tell us a bit, if you would, about your career, your company.
Sure. So thank you for having me here today in my kitchen. I'm originally from Pennsylvania, moved to California in the 80s, and I've worked in the cleaning and maintenance industry and for Servicon most of my adult career. I kind of worked my way through the various roles. So I have a great appreciation for all the roles of the people on our team. We've been in Culver City, since the late 80s, since there really wasn't a lot around, and we were so excited when Akasha moved in, because we loved that place, and we're there a lot. We're right down from the platform down there. I think we're Culver City's third largest employer. We employ 2,000 people around in 12 states, but mostly in Southern California, doing environmental services, cleaning and maintenance, and a couple other types of services. And so, yeah, we've been very busy right now. It's been incredibly crazy to try to pivot at this time to manage all of the changes and the requirements that are coming out, to stay on top of all the compliance, not just related to the work that we do in the facilities, ensuring that we're disinfecting. We have about 350 workers working in the Los Angeles County Department of Health Services, frontline workforce that are working around COVID positive patients. And we service a great deal of essential industries right now who are still working. So most of my people are still working, and we're hiring. So it's a completely different world for us, I think, than for many people. We're in a fortunate position.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's great that you have people employed at this time and you're growing your ranks, as you said. So, I mean, so we're here to talk about kind of what this new normal looks like. And there have been these sort of last minute adjustments that everybody in any sector of any industry has had to make. So Akasha, going back to you, just kind of talking a little bit more about some of the ways that you've adapted. So you said you're at about 15 to 20% of your kind of usual, what you usually would be taking in. And I know you're working with Feed Culver. Can you talk to us in a little more detail about some of the changes you've made with your delivery and takeout and your online presence, like what you've done specifically to make the best of the situation?
So we felt it was best to not keep our regular menu and have on-demand food. We tried it for a couple days and we hardly got any orders. And we felt what was best was to make food that you could eat for dinner or lunch the next day. So turkey meatloaf, smashed potatoes, fried chicken that reheats really nice, vegetables, vegan pastas, vegan enchiladas, salads, all kinds of things that you could, as I said, take, hummus and crudité. And I take everything home. I heat it up in a home oven. I try it. I test it all because it's different than making, a grilled piece of fish and sauteed vegetables at a restaurant that someone eats right then and there. It has to be able to reheat. So we did that with a very small skeleton crew. That's our other problem. We don't want too many people in the building, right? And so, that's one of the problems. And so we had a small crew. I've been here cooking. I didn't take a day off for 6 weeks. I took one day off in the last 6 weeks. It's like 12-hour days, nonstop cooking. It's not fun in a mask and gloves, especially when it's hot. I mean, we have fun. The kitchen people have fun. So there's part of it that's fun. And then there's part of it is like, whoa. We're looking at different ways to make money. We're probably going to turn our cafe, if you've ever been to our coffee bar, we're taking all the tables and chairs out of there. We're going to turn it into all grab and go with a reach-in refrigerated case, freezer case, making all the food we're making now, because I view that as an additional revenue stream for the restaurant. Because remember, they're probably going to make us take out 50% of our chairs. And as everyone knows in the restaurant industry, it's all about people in the seats. So if we normally did 120 for lunch and we can only do 60 for lunch, what does that mean? Do we go from 3 servers to 2 servers? The servers aren't going to be happy. They're going to make less money. I'm going to have to cut cooks. I'm going to have to cut prep people. It's a lot of refiguring. It's almost like writing a new business plan. So that's why we really feel like the takeout and the grab and go and the delivery, is super important. Remember, we did a lot of catering, and all those catering platters are going to go away. Nobody wants communal eating. So I'm like, okay, I'll do bento boxes. Like, I'm the solution person that's always going, let's look on the bright side. What can we do? We won't send out big platters. We'll send out a bento box. It has the quinoa and vegetables, the grilled chicken, and salad all in one. So you're in a meeting. Sony calls us. We do a lot of business with them. Someone's at their office. They want 20 people for a meeting. They're going to get 20 bento. Everything's clean, sanitary, wrapped silver, disposable. So there's a lot of ideas, but it's
a huge.
That's how we're viewing it.
Is that also impacting your cost, kind of your cost as you look towards, what your output is as you change this direction?
I mean, costs sometimes depend on your volume. We've been really lucky. We're able to get everything except red meat is becoming a problem. And like our suppliers that delivered 6 days a week, now some of them only deliver 4. You know, like I have one meat company that delivers 6, one that delivers 4, 2 different produce companies, they alternate different days. Your orders have to be in earlier. I mean, it definitely has, you know, and sometimes you order things and they don't come in. For the most part, we are getting everything we need.
And I know
I got it. And
some of your oh, sorry, sorry. But some of the restaurants downtown in particular have had to, you know, shut down completely. So you know, we all appreciate that you're still operating and trying to support the businesses that are still open. Jean, curious to know from your perspective, if you typically have your employees, are they used to working remotely? Or you can work completely working, I'm guessing remotely at this point. How does this impact your processes and your numbers, you know, number of people working for you?
Yeah, I mean, we've never had a formal work from home policy, but we've always given our employees a lot of flexibility. You know, I take a lot of pride in the fact that we have majority of our staff are parents, and I want to continue to have this be a parent-friendly place. The advertising industry in general is not very kind to, I would say, people above 40 or parents. So to have that be it. So flexibility has always been at the core of who we are. And we work on we're on Google Suite products. So from a collaboration standpoint, there's so much that you can do by shared documents. And again, that just really allows to have a certain type of mindset that you're going to have different departments working in collaboration with one another as opposed to siloed. So I really think that comes from a leadership standpoint of, well, this is how we work. We have a collaborative type of just spirit of how we operate. And so we've adapted to it, I would say, pretty well. I mean, again, we're lucky that we can do majority of what we can do remotely. We're a service company. Now there's an end creative product. So I would say the biggest thing that we've seen an impact on, which, you know, from Sony, I'm sure too, is like the physical active production. We can't actively shoot right now. So we're having to pivot from our production capabilities to really go towards more animation, design, things that editorial, found footage. I'm sure you're all noticing the past few weeks that, you know, you turn on the TV and it's like every ad, it looks the same. It's found footage, it's sad piano music. We're going to get through this together. And there's a reason for that, because we actively can't go out and shoot new content. So creatives are very restricted by what they can do. And if you also think about these high profile media buys that are currently happening, they need to fill that with some sort of content to have be an appropriate message for the moment. Now is not the time to be telling people, hey, 50% off on your new Acura. That's not the appropriate thing. So brands have had to move quickly in order to be in line with the consumer sentiment. But I just think the one thing that's been really interesting, and I've had some conversations with Colin, you know, talking about this from a business perspective, is I think a lot of us were just the closure came so quickly, you know, and I can only imagine, like, Akasha from your standpoint too, of like, what, wait, what? So I think now as we're getting into a point of reopening, that's one of the things that I'm really wanting to be able to you know, communicate to my employees on. What is the guidance that's coming from the state, what's coming from the city, as we kind of get into this new normal, which I think is going to be very nebulous for the next 6 months.
I would agree, and it's funny because part of our global policy external affairs group, and to your point, yeah, I mean, we're not filming anywhere, although we hear about these little one-offs of local production in some country somewhere.
Yeah.
Where they're using, I guess, and correct me if I'm wrong, but like a lot of casting that's actually happening is, you sort of can tell, it's families, it's people who can be together. It's that you see that.
Yeah, people are being creative from that standpoint. I mean, you're seeing a lot of, I mean, Parks and Rec did a special over the weekend. It was a reunion show, and it was like all of their families were manning the cameras because that's what had to happen from a social distancing perspective. So we're going to continue to have things be in a creative mindset, but production is such a vital part to the city of Los Angeles. So I know that there will be creative solutions that will be coming in the next few months.
And I think that's being looked at now, but the magic that's sort of back to the crystal ball. I think we're all thinking like May 15th, what happens? And nobody really knows, quite honestly. So the frustration is that it could all kind of happen quickly. And here, you know, we're trying to be prepared for that with what we can help roll out through the chamber, other resources. But Laurie, so interesting again to hear that your industry is, of course, needed, that, you know, hugely right now. Can you kind of go into a little more in depth? I'm curious to know, you know, as you said, you're trying to manage the compliance, the protocols, you've increased your numbers. Have you brought more clients on? Are you just managing the ones you have? And how much have you had to really shift to address the way you're needing to do things now?
Yes. So we have brought some new clients on that were kind of in the process already, because our bid processes are usually pretty long. So we have started some new business that was already in the works. With our existing workforce, our existing clients, we've added a lot of positions because we're having to, we work with a lot of aerospace, the aerospace industry who is still working. Most of our industry sectors and clients that we support are still working and are essential. So we're having to up our level of high touch point disinfection. So we've got people there with disinfectant all day long, in essence, just doing, you know, rounds of disinfecting, you know, high touch, you know, doorways and elevator buttons and, you know, things that people touch. One of the things that we're recognizing is not only is it really important that we do that work, but that our people are seen doing that work. So when I think about, you know, Jean, as you go back into your offices and Akasha, and wondering how it would impact restaurants is, how do you make the people coming in there feel comfortable and confident that you're keeping your place free of germs or disinfected? And so we're working on communication plans. Another thing we pivoted to do is early on, because we do work in healthcare, we trained 40 of our team members to do what's similar to what they call terminal cleaning in health environments, when you have an infectious disease, where you literally clean all surfaces from top to bottom, and then you come in with electrostatic disinfection. And so we're doing that service, and I'm sad to say that we're having more positive COVID positives and probables in non-healthcare environments than we are in healthcare environments right now. And so we're taking that environmental services type of work that we do in healthcare and actually doing it in office buildings, in public facilities, because they want to make sure that their people are safe. It's been hard pivoting with all of the CDC, because they kept evolving the changing, you know, how long does a disinfectant have to sit on a surface? It's close to 10 minutes depending on the one you use, which ones are approved. How do you dilute them? What's the dilution rates changed? We had all of our people using the right products, and then overnight they said, nope, it has to completely change your dilution rate. So we have a facility where we have our own supply division. We literally made like 1,200 bottles overnight and got them out to the field, because the units that we had wouldn't dilute at the right ratios, because they just changed that. So PPE, that's been a changing animal, and communicating to our people. So I think one of the biggest challenges for us was, with this dispersed workforce, communicating with them, the line people, to make them feel safe and comfortable going out and still working on the front line, and most particularly in our healthcare environments, where they know that they're going to come across, you know, COVID positive patients, and empowering them and educating them about how to do the process, what the proper PPE is, how they should keep themselves safe, and then continuing to make sure we get them that proper PPE. So I'm pleased to say that, you know, more people are showing up, they're doing great work, they're staying safe, but it's been a huge challenge. And I think what's come out from this, most of all for us, is the way we communicate with our line workforce. It's really ratcheted up, and it should have been, we didn't have a way to do it, and we found a way with this circumstance. And that's one thing that I'm really looking forward to continuing doing when we come out of this.
I was gonna, you know, ask you specifically how you're managing your workforce, because I'm sure and the comfort level of new folks you're hiring, because we want people to stay employed, but they're right there on the front line. So big thank you to all of your employers for helping.
Thank you. We're very happy to be recognized, not sadly that it's in this particular circumstance, but our people are getting a lot of kudos and a lot of thanks and recognition when they've been really kind of an invisible workforce. So that's been nice for them. But we call it a campaign of facts. And so as long as we're giving facts, we're following CDC, World Health, we're constantly just over and over again, facts in 4 or 5 different ways. We put it up on Facebook, so a lot of our people can see Facebook. We're texting, we're emailing, we're having town halls and communications all the time. And then, we're really framing, we have to be really careful how we frame new hires coming into this environment too, and making sure that we're training them so that they're safe and they know the proper way to disinfect.
Right, absolutely. So one thing that Colin and I have talked a little bit about, and I think it's a kind of a broad, it's a broad topic, technology, but, Jean, you touched on it with your comment about, everybody, your teams are used to collaborating on Google Suite, and we all, we use our phones. It's just a part of our life, but I'm curious to know from any of you, feel free to chime in what ways have you changed your use of technology? And we'll put aside Zoom and Teams, like we know we're doing that, but it is a huge part of our future, really, I think, as we wait for this to unfold. So curious to know from all of you, what's changed in that regard, or what you're looking toward using in the future in terms of technology that might help your business or change the way you approach your business.
I just think you're already seeing people like the travel industry is basically at a standstill. And I think technology is only that recovery for the travel industry is going to be long and slow. And you're seeing reports coming out specifically from the airlines. I just think technology is going to continue to aid that type of business. The way the necessary travel that was meant for business, I think, is going to change, and that will impede that. And I think travel will really become more of a thing for personal happiness, vacation, joy, time with family. So I think that's one of the things. I think technology is really going to make people rethink, things that are needed from a business context. Because I think what we're seeing is a lot of what we can do, we can do remotely. So I think that's been interesting to see.
So for us, beyond, the collaboration tools, we are looking for a better way to communicate with our dispersed workforce. And there are some platforms out there that we're looking into. I know that there's some retail companies that are using it in the grocery industry to communicate with their 85,000 workers. And so that's something that we're going to be addressing. Our technologies in our work will actually impact all of your works. So electrostatic disinfection systems, UV light as a potential disinfectant, how we actually measure the work that's been done, ATP monitorings, other types of monitoring systems. There's no effective way right now to be able to swipe a surface and immediately say if COVID is still there or not, but there are measures and monitors and things that we're using to identify that much of the surface has been decontaminated. So I foresee, and we're working with some people in infection prevention roles to come up with a more effective method to determine that something is healthy, that a specific surface is safe, that the air quality is safe. And so we'll start to use particulate air counters and things like that. So I see a lot of what we'll be using will impact, your workplaces moving forward, so that you can make your employees, your customers feel safe that they're in a clean and healthy space.
And related to that, I'm sure, there's also the sort of the contact tracking that we keep hearing about between Face and Apple, and there's, all the testing, and it'll be part of our future kind of going forward to allow us to work, right?
I've been talking with some furniture manufacturers and people that are thinking about, changing, putting monitors on hotel spaces, so you can identify the last time somebody was in that cubicle or that space, and when they leave, so that you can go and clean that space. They're also talking about tracking mechanisms within offices and facilities to determine the flow of people and where you need to make sure that you lessen the flow if there's too many people congregated in an area, or if you need to go in and actually clean that area. So I think you might start seeing that in office spaces too, coming down the line.
Tracking our every move, kind
Yeah,
of.
it won't be facial recognition, there's no face. And they're also talking about phone apps, so that the phone would trigger something that's maybe in a doorway to identify that there's been people coming or going into that space.
I think technology has been, the conversation of privacy has been building and building. And I think now this is a moment where it's kind of burst open. You thought it was going to be that with Facebook, with Cambridge Analytica, but I think this really truly is, because there's health impact too. So there's a larger societal impact that technology could play a very pivotal role in solving, but at the same time, really doing a disservice to civil liberties and what our country is founded on. So I think that is going to be really interesting to see how the government, local governments, federal governments make decisions on priorities for vaccines and technologies, to see how we kind of come out of this health crisis.
Mm-hmm. No, you're absolutely right. It opens up that whole conversation. Akasha, I'm curious to know how much of your business before the pandemic was generated through online, visiting a website or any online orders, and now you're dependent on that, really, right? So how's that changed for you?
Well, we've always had an online, we have a website. We had a simple catering platform that did not work for us. We had to change it because people couldn't order online. We took down all our delivery apps, because those like Chow Now and Uber Eats, they take 20-30% off of each order, and we just couldn't do that. So we have our own drivers, but we had to change systems, which was kind of a nightmare midstream, because we could not keep up with the handwriting of all the orders, because our other catering platform was very simple and it was great for like 5 platters, even if it was 10 times a day, it was easy. So we changed our platform. Some of you have to understand, some of our customers can't even order online. You got, in your offices, you're dealing with Google Docs and Zoom meetings. There's no way I could have a Zoom meeting with my employees. I mean, they're just, except for maybe the managers, if all the managers were at home. I have to text the people in the kitchen. Most chefs can barely send an email. I've had people that work for me that can't use the simple programs that we have, like Hot Schedules, which is an online scheduling system. So everybody gets an email and it says your schedule's changed, or you put in a request and you say you want to change. Most of the people that work for me are like, oh, I don't have the app. I'm like, okay, I'll pay for you to get the app. It's $2. But I'm dealing with a completely different workforce than everyone else is. Fortunately, the good thing is that they're really good at being clean. And I'm excited to hear about what Laurie is doing and investigating, because our big thing now is to keep this restaurant as clean as possible. I had someone come today. I'm going to recover our couches in the restaurant with marine grade vinyl.
Perfect.
That you can wipe down. I want something that I can spray. Do you know what that is, Laurie, the marine grade vinyl?
No, I just know that carpeted or soft porous surfaces are a no-no. They're really hard to validate that you can disinfect them. So, you're going to see that change in all of, office space and everywhere that it's vinyl or plastic or something that's easily wiped.
Right. And we all, we've always done a lot of cleaning, and we have sanitizer, but I mean, it's part of the health department protocol to have sanitizer buckets, but now of course we're doing it more. Everyone's wearing gloves, everyone's washing their hands more. Everyone's wearing a mask in the kitchen. And that's why I have my mask on, because people are walking by me and I just feel like, I'm the owner, I have to keep up the protocol. But yeah, as far as technology goes, that's for our customers, and you know, it's not a high-tech business.
But
Internally, it's just
yeah,
not.
I think what you've explained though really does. I mean, you are all representing three very different businesses, and you're using a version of technology or with your employees or in very different ways. So I think it's pretty fascinating for us to hear how that all works. And I see some synergies happening here. Laurie and Jean are going to have their folks come and get grab and go from you, and you guys are going to talk about cleaning options.
I'm very excited about all these cleaning options because that's our biggest concern, that people want to walk in here and feel like it's super, super clean.
Well, I do think that might be like a great thing, kind of, you know, a lot of us are going to be creating like return to work plans and what those look like. Again, they're different for different industries, but I think if we could maybe pull those together, make them available once we have them solidified within our companies. I just think the more learning that we can give to one another during these times, the better. Because again, everyone's figuring this out in real time. The legislators, the regulators, like no one has all the answers. So the way that we can best be suited as a community, and then also to protect our employees, is by sharing information and learning, you know, those things.
So I wanted to make sure we spend a little time talking about something we're all dealing with in some way. This whole work-life balance, you know, topic du jour of the past decade, but not relevant now more than ever. As I just talked to my son, if you saw me looking over there, that was to my son. So, you know, each of you please, you know, chime in, but we'll start with Akasha because you said something earlier and I thought, well, we need to go to work-life balance and self-care because you're working these hugely long days, day after day. It's your business. I completely understand. So what are you and Alan able to find some time to just chill?
Do you know Alan? Alan doesn't chill.
Okay.
Okay. Alan does not chill. Alan wants me to work 15 hours a day, 7 days a week, and even then it's not enough. No, Alan doesn't chill.
Bring him back in. So
Alan does not chill, but I chill. So my daughter's here helping me, and that's the big tech part of my business. I mean, she's a consultant, and she does a lot of work for people doing research and projects, and she works with food brands, so she's sacrificed a few months of her life to come down and help me. She's really great at marketing, research, you know, all that. So her and I chill together. I try to take one day off a week where her and I just hang out and have fun and clean closets and take a walk. But I don't have a work-life balance right now. I used to, and I wanted to speak to someone mentioned travel. I'm so passionate about traveling, and we have a family in Sardinia and Italy, and so for us not to be able to go to Italy right now is just heartbreaking. My daughter has a 97-year-old Nonna in a small village in Sardinia. So yeah, the travel part breaks my heart as much as the restaurant part. It's just, that's my work-life balance, traveling, planning 1 or 2 trips a year. India, Italy, you know, so that's worse for me than any of this.
no,
If I see questions that were geared towards me, are we getting to those later?
yeah, sure. We're gonna make sure we allow a few minutes to get to some of those questions. It's great. We have so many coming in. I was just smiling because as you were talking, Alan was walking behind you on the phone. So perfect.
I know he's great, but there's no, Alan only works.
So great that you
buy Alan a plane ticket to get him to leave town. Otherwise, yeah.
No, but that's good. Well, wonderful to hear your daughter is with you and you're having, it's nice to have our family together in a lot of ways, but it's also a challenge. So, Jean, you shared with me earlier, you have a couple of younger kids and you mentioned you and your husband run the company together. So talk to us a little bit about how that works and what do you do to just like go for a walk or do whatever you need to do to.
Yeah, I mean, my kids are 10 and 12, and I also work with my husband. So our house is the online learning for the kids has been pretty challenging, I will say. It was a pretty big shift for them, and I give credit to our school. My kids go to the Lycée Français, and they quickly pivoted to an online system. They, shut the school down for 3 days, got everything online. So, I mean, it's been really messy. So at times it's been hard for me not to get frustrated, but because I know everyone else is going through the same thing too. Like, everything is kind of messy right now. But I just kids are all about routines. So it's really just establishing new routines. Like, we go for a walk every day after lunch. The first few days they were just moaning and, oh, I don't want to do this. And now they actually look forward to it because we'll talk about, the TV show we watched last night or things like that. But it's been super challenging. I think when we all went into kind of lockdown in the middle part of March, like, no one knew what was going on. It was just pure panic from all sides. So we really bared down on the business. Like, all of our clients, we actually are lucky. Our clients are very diversified. They're not all in one sector. So we have a hospitality client. We have consumer goods, fintech. So each one of them were having different types of problems, and whatever we were developing currently from a marketing communication standpoint had to totally shift. So, and that's how our name Zambezi comes from the Zambezi shark, which is one of the most adaptable animals on the planet. We call it a bull shark here in the States, but it can go from saltwater to freshwater and is one of the only animals that can do that. So we're actually really poised well for times like this, when you have to pivot, you have to figure it out. But yeah, the work-life balance thing, I think sometimes we do a disservice to ourselves by just only asking this question to women. I love asking this question to men, because I think the more that you can make this a thing, like, who the hell doesn't want work-life balance? Doesn't everyone want that? So we've had a lot of conversations about that. But again, yeah, I'm like Alan. I would work all day, given the point. And I think when you own a small business, you don't view it as work. You view it as a passion and love that you have. But lucky that our whole entire family is healthy. And yeah, just taking it day by day.
No, I think we're in similar situations, but you're right. I think especially with your school-age kids, it's an adjustment, right? So. And
the hormones of the 12-year-old, it's nuts.
Yes. Thank goodness. I mean, I hate to say this, but I'm sort of okay with social media during this time. So
yeah.
And Laurie, you have this. You said you're working in your kitchen, and you have a son at home, I believe. You
said. My college-age son is great because he just basically lives in his room, and my husband and my dog and cat. But I give myself a solid B- in work-life balance right now, and which is actually kind of better than it was before. I was commuting 4 days a week, and would lose almost 3 hours a day on the road, an hour, 15 hour and a half each way. And so I've kind of picked up some time, but of course I've filled that with, work, because things have gotten so crazy busy, but things have settled down a little bit now. And so I'm trying to build more exercise in the routine. I do a yoga online with a friend, and she plays really loud. The yoga thing, she's taped, and we do that. And I do, I started a boot camp like early Friday mornings, which I had done in 4 years. And that was last Friday, and I can move finally today. I'm a big fan of what I call twofers, where it looks like I'm work-life balancing. So my dog is really pitiful and is so excited I'm home and wants to walk all the time. And so I'll if I have like a 20-minute or half-hour break, I'll write down on a note all the names of the people that I haven't talked to in a while from my team that maybe aren't online, or maybe they're field people and I just want to check in. And so I put that in my pocket and I put my headset in and I start walking my dog, and then I call them and talk to them while I'm walking the dog. So I kind of feel like I'm being productive while I'm walking the dog. And then just, little things like playing games after, with my husband and my son. And my husband's super supportive and really helpful, and he does cooking, and, and just, sometimes I'll sitting here and I'll be on a meeting, I'll just see food show up in front of me, which is great. So it keeps me alive, and my son will cook occasionally. So it's great because we're really coming together as a team. We'll go out for the softball. Crazy. And I'm occasionally watching, ridiculous anime with my son. That's something I don't know that I'd ever do, but now that's part of something that I do.
I think I was, I joined a webinar that was sort of focused on this topic yesterday, just to hear what people were saying. And it's true. It's sort of that thing of doing like one tangible thing each day that is kind of something you just do for yourself, even if it's for 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. And that balance, it was phrased, I thought, nicely for anybody. And no matter what you do, sort of that balance of being of service and taking some downtime, you just kind of have to figure it out somehow, right? So, because we're all in the same place all the time without the 3-hour commutes, like you said.
We've had one fun thing. We're on a cul-de-sac, and we're probably one of the younger, believe it or not, people in the community, and a lot of those folks are older, and so we've come to a Friday evening social distancing cocktail where people come out on their kind of lawns, and we're able to, and they really feel connected, because I'm connected all the time online and talking, but a lot of these folks just don't get to see or talk to anybody. So that's been really great pleasure to get to know them a little more and feel kind of like we're, helping them stay connected.
Nice. Yeah. So we have gotten a bunch of questions, which is great. And I'm not sure we're going to get to all of them. So I'm extracting a few with some behind the scenes help. And if we don't get to all of your questions, we will figure out a way to maybe get some to you after this event here. But thank you everybody for all of your participation so far. So one question that came up is, what is one thing that you would want to ask of the people in Culver City? So I'm guessing that means in terms of support for your business, or maybe questions you might have, of Culver City administration. Again, sounds like this question could kind of go either way, but leave it open a bit.
I mean, I would say, Akasha is here representing the restaurant industry. And I think, downtown Culver has really blossomed over the past decade. It was a different place. And I mean, what you kind of read about the future of the restaurant business, it's untenable of what, Akasha is going to have to do with only having 50% occupancy, but yet, still operating at the same rental kind of capacity, from that standpoint. So I think continue to support your local businesses is vital, because I think that was really what will bring a really strong community, is by having locally owned business. Because I do think there will be consolidation, and then there'll just be large, corporate entities that kind of come in. So I think that's one of the things that we've been always continuing to support our local businesses, so that they can make it through on the other side of this.
Absolutely. I think we had when this first started, there was somebody tell me what the name of it was, but it was basically Take Out America, or it was like an opportunity to one Tuesday night where everybody was kind of driven to order takeout from your local restaurants. I thought it was great, and I'd love to see something like that again. So Laurie and Akasha, I don't know if you have thoughts about, sort of the community of Culver City, what you might want to share, or if there, a comment for our administration that's looking at what to do as this all unfolds.
Well, the city's been really great with us. Alan's very involved in the city. I agree with Jean, supporting your local businesses. I mean, I'm lucky, I have tons of food. And I actually do have to bring the food home, as I said, and reheat it, because it's R&D to make sure my reheating instructions are correct. But that said, like at least once a week, I get takeout from Queso, the local sushi place. I love them, they're friends of ours. Sometimes twice a week, and I just feel like I'm going to support them. It's one of my favorite restaurants in the area, and I just, have to be supportive of my friends and my neighbors. And, I'm on the Culver City Facebook page, and someone posted about our meal delivery, and everybody was great and super positive, but one woman posted, "I just can't believe they're still charging restaurant prices. Why can't they give everything for 50% off?" And I'm thinking, I don't think people understand how high our rents are and all our costs are. And I kind of broke it down for her, how much our meals really cost. And she goes, "Oh, okay." Because we're really trying to have some reasonable things on our menu where you could, you know, take home enchiladas for 4 people for $22, and that's what, $7.50 a person, or $7 a person. So, you know, we're trying to make things as affordable as possible, yet I can't just give away the food because I still have to pay people, I still have insurance, I still have rent. So I feel like it's just important to support local if you can. And I really like the Feed Culver program that they're doing in Culver City. Anybody can donate to that. Today we did 160 meals. They line up at Grace Lutheran Church. We did, you know, meatloaf, mashed potatoes, turkey meatloaf, vegetables, salad, a cookie. You know, we don't charge a lot. We make a little bit of money, but like, I feel so good after I send out those meals because I'm like, I hear they just line up. I don't know if you've driven down there, you know, but and they're splitting it up between all the restaurants. So it's a really great way to help, even if you just want to give Feed Culver $25, because they have different restaurants do it every day, and it's really helping us. It's helping us a lot.
That's great. No, that is, it's a great, it came together very quickly too. It's pretty amazing. And that's grown from like started with 70 and now you said 160 meals. So that's wonderful.
160 meals today.
A lot. Laurie, there's a question that's kind of directed to you, and they're curious to know, as you're hiring people, you know, unfortunately, a huge fallout, to state the obvious, is that many people are unable to work right now. So is there, if for somebody who might be interested in finding out how to apply for work if you're hiring, or, you know, anything else you're putting out there to get your past employees back, new employees involved?
Yeah, we're hiring. We hired about 170 people since March 16th, and we've got about 70 open positions now. And if you go to our website, you can actually put in applications on our website, which is serviconsystems.com. It's really been interesting because we're hiring virtually. So the hiring, you know, the recruiters are talking to people over the phone rather than seeing them in person, where we do have to bring them in at some point to a very small group of offices, and we're onboarding people with, you know, wearing masks and training with, you know, 6 feet apart. We can only have so many people in the building at a time to do it with. We're having our existing workforce, it gets referrals. They get a referral bonus if they refer somebody who stays, you know, for 6 months in our team. We actually recently just bonused our entire line workforce who have worked from this period since March 16th for, you know, helping them out because a lot of their families have lost work. So while our employees are working, a lot of their other, you know, their family members who are household support are not. But if you go to the website and just look, you'll be able to see by location. We have supervisory positions open as well as frontline positions. We're actually going to have a controller position posted soon. So there'll be other office kind of roles as well. So just send them to our website.
Okay, no, that's great. Thank you. And being mindful of the time, I know we thought this would be a very dynamic conversation, and there's so many questions. We could spend a couple hours here, but we will not do that to everybody because we know everybody's busy. But we'll take a couple more questions. Then I know Colin wanted to just, you know, have a few words before we wrap out here. But Jean, this is an interesting question for you, and to the extent you might be able to help out with this. That's from somebody who says, I work with older adults, teaching them how to use their tech devices. I now can't see them anymore. What's the best way to advertise, get in touch with adults, children, they're saying, that are not tech savvy? Do you have any suggestions along those lines?
Let me take myself off mute first. Just as an antidote, my grandfather, when he was alive, taught in his senior center community how to use computers, because desktops were really just becoming a thing. So I do think it's things. So really is everything's social, and everything's digital, and everything's mobile at this standpoint. So I think, you know, really having a targeted social media reach out, and you can do the great thing about Facebook and Google, and even more so like Facebook, you can have it be super targeted by zip code, by gender, who you're going after. They really allow it. And I think that's one of the things that really has changed the advertising industry from a digital standpoint. It's democratized. And, you know, if you're a huge holding company with thousands of employees, you're going to get the same rate for buying an online ad than, you know, the small florist shop. So digital really has democratized and enabled businesses to market themselves in ways that weren't possible. So what do we have coming up this weekend? We've got Mother's Day. So that's like, if you kind of think about these moments where it's like you're connecting with family, how can we continue to connect with family? So I would just say right now, you've got Mother's Day, you've got Father's Day, thinking about, you know, where your business is coming from, if there are certain zip codes, and where you've had business, and then targeting some specific types of messaging that makes it helpful. Of like, it's almost like a gift that the parent, adult kid is giving to the grandparents to really enable the conversation with their grandkids. So that's just off the cuff.
No, that's great. That is that's free advice right there, people, from a high-end ad agency.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. So just to, you know, wrap this out, and again, we have quite a few questions here. I think, you know, we'd love to hear from each of you. And again, some of the questions for the folks who are joining us that are directed to our participants, we'll try to get them to each of them and try to get some information back out. But, you know, to each of you, as we look towards what comes next, or you're pivoting, you're adjusting, you're continuing to do so daily almost, anticipating what we assume will come down the pike in the next several months, again, the new normal. We will get back to some version of what we had. What are you doing to focus on your next steps, kind of this recovery period that is still an unknown? Jean, do you want to start with you since?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really a phase type of approach. I mean, you're seeing Garcetti, some things are going to be open on Friday. The phase approach is coming in early. It's all about employee comfort. Certain employees, what I've been saying to my staff about talking about return to work, it's like, well, here's the thing. We have 50% who can't wait to come back and 50% who don't want to set foot in the building. So we have to have policies and flexibility that allows for that. So with school closures happening as well in tandem, I view that we are going to be working in this remote situation until the middle of summer, because we have to give working parents that flexibility. So that is really what I'm focused on right now, is like just getting into the end of the summer and what that looks like, and then having as many conversations as I can with other people, other industries, and just being a sponge and learning, because I think that those are the companies that are going to provide the best guidance for their employees. If you're actively seeking out as much information as possible and then vetting it with your own accord of everything that you're coming in. So that it requires extra time, it requires extra Zooms. But what I've also found is that people that I've reached out to that I haven't spoken to in a few years, I'm like, ugh, they're not gonna return my call. People have returned my call. So we all are kind of home, and I think having that a little bit of, yes, we're all in this together kind of aspect. So I would just say, you know, if you have someone that's in your orbit that you really feel that you can learn from, reach out to them, and they probably will say, yes, let's get on a call.
Mm-hmm. No, that's great. That's a great thought and great advice for in any part of our lives to follow up on that. Laurie, why don't you tell us what you're looking at in terms of, I mean, you've shared a bit because everything's, again, protocols are changing, et cetera. But, yeah.
So in our industry, we like to say that we have a great opportunity to impact the return to business in a healthy way. And so I've been for years, you know, our tagline has been changing the face of the cleaning industry. And for years I've been banging the gong about it's cleaning for health, not cleaning for visibility. And in the healthcare environments, people get that, right? Because we're talking about infection prevention, and critical environments, it's understood. But now I've been saying every environment is critical now. Everybody is vulnerable now, not just healthcare, not just those critical environments. And so I'll be continuing to bang that gong. So you'll see me, you know, being forcefully, you know, doing things like this, being, you know, front forward, trying to explain to people that, you know, a healthy workplace is important always, not just when there's a pandemic. We spend 80% of our time indoors. And so it's super important that that indoor environment in the offices, in our restaurants, in retail stores, in arenas, in public facilities, just because it looks clean doesn't mean it's healthy. And so with that, we're going to be working with thought leaders, doctors, clinical epidemiologists, researchers to ensure that we have good processes and procedures, and then also work on those measurements so that we can make people feel safe and confident. So another person in my industry recently said, for years we've been focusing on process, product, performance, and now we have perception that we have to manage. And so how do we help people like Jean, people like Akasha communicate in a way that the space is safe, that they can come back, and that they're doing everything they can to keep that space infection free. So that's what I'll be spending time on.
Plus a walk with your dog.
No, walk with my dog.
And Akasha, you shared with us a little bit about your some of the changes you're making to the, to your restaurant and for the grab and go. What are you thinking about, sort of mid-range, longer term?
So I agree. I think it was Jean that said, phases. So first phase was this pre-order, delivery, order by this time, get it delivery. Next phase is going to try to take that on demand with some kind of hours, like 9 to 6, but not letting people in the building still, because we're not supposed to. So it would be a window where you could call in an order, come 20 minutes later, your bag will be ready, no touching of anybody. Someone delivers it to you with gloves on, pay online with a credit card. Then we'll see what the governor and what the mayor says. I mean, it's not going to be easy for us to open like overnight. New cleaning protocols, all of that. I mean, there's gloves, masks. We got to get good looking masks. You can't just have everybody in a random mask. They have to look like the uniform. Mm-hmm. Trying to deal with that, new schedules. Wendy from Moondance Events, a great event company, had a question: how are we going to deal with weddings and catering? As I said, for small catering, we'll do bento boxes. Weddings, are they going to let people have weddings? When are weddings going to be? I almost had a bat mitzvah, but they canceled because of COVID, and they had already decided to do bento boxes for the bat mitzvah, where after the service, we were just doing the brunch. It would be a box with like bagels, cream cheese, all that in a box. Right now, that's all we could do. But again, there's no large gatherings. So, we just don't know. We just don't know what's going to happen. I mean, for us, it's super, super complicated with all the cleaning and all the gloves and the masks and, everything. But I'm just taking it in phases because, of course, we want to open again. And we're hoping the grab and go will make up for some of the revenue we're going to lose because the seating will go to 50%. The great thing that happened to us is cocktails to go. And I'm working on a new program with a great cocktail chef because we need the ABC to keep that program alive because we've never been allowed to sell cocktails to go. So, there's certain good things. I try to look at the silver lining. There's certain good things. So we'll see what happens. It's like starting all over, but it's kind of fun.
This is a great way to end the conversation because you're right. I mean, we've certainly, this is different. It's not easy. We've all had to adapt. But when we think about some of the interesting, dare I say, optimistic or positive things that have or will come out of this, like Jean mentioned, reaching out to more people, more time with family, hopefully opportunities that will unfold for people who are not in, a great position right now. But I think this is a big shift for everybody, right? So it's we need to look at those aspects of it too. So thank you for that. Thank you, Laurie, Jean, and Akasha. This has been really fun. This is great to talk to all of you and interesting to hear. And I'm going to shift to Colin. Thank you for joining us, everybody. I know he wants to say a few words before we wrap up.
Thank you, Kristin. Did a great job as a moderator. And again, thank you to Laurie, Jean, and Akasha. Obviously, great content, a lot of engagement from folks. We would like to deliver more of this type of programming in the future and would appreciate your assistance to do so. So before you hop off the call today, I would like to share, we have a poll that you should see pop up on your screen, just a couple of questions. While you're filling that out, I'd like to thank our sponsors that made today possible so that this was free for everyone to attend. And that is Ehrlich and I, Ree and Cheney Architects. So thank you for their sponsorship, as well as Cedar Sinai. And so we look forward to having more of these events in the future. Once you are finished with the poll, you are free to leave, as you would be at any point. But again, thank you to our phenomenal speakers and our moderator, and hopefully you guys have a great rest of the week. So thank you.